Hey everybody, welcome back to Emerald City Hockey Post Game Live. Kraken keep on rolling, rack up their third win in a row during this homestand. Looking good, playing well, get some good big goals. Big one from Maddie. Ebbs goes down. That's going to be the big story before the next game, I feel like, on Saturday. But the big thing is another 2 points for the Kraken. This draws them back up to 500, I believe. That's what RJ was talking about. And yeah, it just feels a lot better to be doing these dance parties after wins, doesn't it? And as you can hear, we got still got some in arena music to go with our disco dance party tonight. So that's good. But yeah, team's just really feeling it right now. Coaching staff's doing all the things right that they can. It's it's good stuff, right? Like what they're doing right now is good stuff. I know they are they were just playing the Blackhawks tonight. It's not like a huge, you know, it's not everyone is impressive, but some are more impressive than others. We'll say, right? I felt like this one, though they took advantage of playing a bad team again for the second game in a row, and like I said, 2 points is 2 points, and you take that, and that's I think the big takeaway from this one. Going to start off with the super chats here. First one from Sean. Appreciate this, Sean. Maybe the best defensive effort, 60-minute effort this season. Dylan, I'm on board with the Wright stint in Coachella. I'm sure the Ebbs injury hurts that. Yeah, the Ebbs injury will definitely hurt that. I don't know what. We'll see what ends up shaking out if Daniel Sprong ends up coming in and being able to join the team. If Ebbs even has to miss time, it certainly looked rough. Anything I'll say here is just obviously purely speculating. We have no word. We're not going to get word from the team tonight. That would be highly unusual. But it looked like either a hip based on where he made contact with the boards there, or I thought just watching him kind of struggle to go down the tunnel, the way he was kind of hunched over and stuff, that's very similar to when my back goes out, my lower back. So I don't know if it's maybe one of those. The team, for what it's worth, the PR account on Twitter did put out that it was a lower body injury. He was doubtful to return with a lower body injury. So we know with Vince Dunn, when it was kind of like the back area, they called that mid body. So we'll see what that ultimately means with Jordan Eberle and how long he will be out if he needs to miss time. So unfortunately, that did happen. But as of the defensive effort, yeah, I mean, look, this is a Chicago team that is very much still in the middle of a rebuild. I feel like they were running that Pat Maroon, Tyler Bertuzzi line a lot more than we were expecting to see it, particularly late when it was under like 10 minutes and you're down by one and you're kind of rolling with that line over the boards. Tells you kind of where this team is at offensively. Bedard had his one or two good looks, wasn't too many others for the rest of the team. I will give the Blackhawks credit. I like the way that they just go for it with their shots. Puck comes on their stick, they let it rip. I like that. But otherwise, I mean, they're just trying to kind of create a mess down low, try to get some screens going. They didn't really have too much going on. Kraken did step up and give a good, solid defensive effort, but yeah, they didn't have to worry too much about stuff. We'll put it that way. James with the next one. Wright needs either more time on ice or to be sent to Coachella Valley. I don't know. Like I said, it seems like it's more of a mentality thing with him than anything. He's playing well. He plays really well. I did like after Ebbs had to leave the game, when we saw Shane Wright out there with Matty Beniers and Jared McCann. I thought that was really interesting, and I do think that signals to us that Dan is open to exploring something with Shane Wright to try to get him going, and it looks like it would be more so along the lines of more time on ice or a different role with this lineup rather than being sent down. I think obviously, as Sean had mentioned in his super chat, any situation around Jordan Eberle is going to make that, might dictate that as well. But I think what we saw there post Ebbs injury, where we saw Shane moved out to the wing, but up there on that line, a line that had already scored, line that was looking, really well, looking really good. They've been playing really well. I think that's more so the direction of what we'd see, is we would see Shane Wright maybe moved around this lineup to try to get him more ice time and put him in more positions where he's going to be able to get on the score sheet again. Light with the super chat. 2 years ago, Riker was seen as an offensively good, defensively liable, may not make the NHL defenseman. Tonight, he clowned Bedard defensively and got a point, unlike the guy who shouts and said carried him in the WHL. Yes, teammates going up against each other, former Pats teammates going up against each other there. Yeah, Riker Evans has really come along in a lot of ways. It's still a little rough in the defensive zone. It's clearly, not his forte. If you look at like the defensive metrics for this team, he's the guy at the bottom of this defensive group, but he still plays very solid. He's going to be an NHL regular for a very long time, makes those special plays in the offensive zone, has been doing a good job of being able to munch larger minutes in Vince Dunn's absence, higher up in the lineup, playing with Adam Larson, getting stuff done there. He is more than just somebody that Connor Bedard carried in the WHL. That is absolutely true. He is definitely rounding into a really, really solid NHL every night defenseman. And that has been fantastic to see for a guy that, the Kraken, given where they drafted him, very much were taking a shot on a guy in a COVID year, drafting an overage year, all of that kind of stuff. That it was an unusual situation when the Kraken drafted him, but he has proven that it was a smart decision by the Seattle top brass there for sure. Dave here with the super chat, appreciate it, Dave. Kraken took care of business at home. I am loving that fire that was lit under their butts with the Spronger trade. Let's keep fighting and climb higher in the standings. Yes, they're going to have the opportunity to do that against the Islanders here coming up on Saturday. And a reminder that that's going to be a 1 p.m. game. So just kind of an awkward start time, not something we're too used to. But yeah, they're climbing up the standings. They're doing well. That trade has done, coming back from the road trip has done wonders for this team. But the trade also, it's hard to deny the impact it's made, just as we've seen the lineup kind of up and down, step up, play better, play stronger, play harder. I feel like this was maybe the one game where maybe they start taking a little bit of a step back, just because, you look at it and it's 2-1 basically through most of this one against a team that looked really bad. And so you could say maybe some of that wasn't quite there, but I don't know. It feels like all four lines are really rolling. Nobody's playing their way out of this lineup right now. And that's just a great thing to see. And I'm really happy and proud of the way the guys have been playing for sure. And then Gregory with the lemon lime Gatorade time, baby. 3 in a row, best defensive game so far. Hope Ebbs is okay. Yeah, the defensive effort we talked about, they were doing a fantastic job muddling the neutral zone, going and just kind of keeping them from really having anything. Joey, for the most part, just had to take stuff from bad angles and kind of work with that stuff, and he's more than capable of dealing with stuff like that all night long, and boy did he look comfortable dealing with it tonight. So yeah, that was good stuff. Ebbs, like we said, we'll see tomorrow. It seems kind of 50-50 on whether or not they're going to have a practice tomorrow, just because you have the 2 games over the weekend. But because Saturday is a 1 p.m. start, you're not going to be able to get a morning skate in. I could see that meaning they want to do something tomorrow. We'll see if we can get an update on Jordan Eberle tomorrow if they do something. But it's possible that we don't totally know something until maybe before that Islanders game on Saturday. There should be, when there's no morning skate, there's press with Dan before the game, and so that might have to be the first time that we get any sort of update from the organization on him. But in the meantime, I will enjoy my sip of lemon lime Gatorade. I'm sure RJ's going to want to come on here in a little bit and take his big victory lap for saying that the Kraken are going to beat the lowly Blackhawks, and I'll have plenty of time to drink more once that happens. As you may have guessed, he was only minorly insufferable during this one up on the press bridge. No, he was pretty good about it all. Michael with the super chat, was there a weirdly large number of broken and drop sticks for the Kraken tonight? Yes, there was. It definitely seemed like that was the case. There was one shift, right, where it felt like there was 2 of them on the one shift, And RJ was just like, okay, that's it, during the intermission, because it was like right before the second period ended, I believe. He was like, everybody's just got to change sticks. Like these, something is going on. But it did feel like there was a lot of broken sticks for the Kraken in this one, or sticks that just, got knocked out and away from them. That's just hockey, though. It's just one of those weird things. You never know on a nightly basis what's going to happen, when that stuff's gonna come into play. Thankfully, nothing bad happened from any of those situations, and the Kraken were able to survive it all. But yeah, I'm with you, Michael, and I appreciate the super chat for it. This definitely felt like more than usual for sure. And then Jenna with the super chat here, Ryan Donato revenge goal. Yes, I was wondering how everybody was going to kind of feel about that. And I know in the game chat on Discord, people are a little like, okay, you can have one. Let's not get carried away here, any of that kind of stuff. And what a Ryan Donato goal to score, right? Goes to the net, just kind of throwing something in there, gets a good bounce there. It comes in off of Joey's skate. That was some peak Ryan Donato stuff right there. And then he had another really good chance back in the first period, I believe it was, where it was again kind of one of those like just Ryan Donato things of him going to the net and doing that thing. It really, every time I watch him play, I just go, gosh, if the Kraken had been able to keep him, what would have been, right? Just having that net front presence, especially now with the system that Dan and the rest of his coaching staff wants to run, he would really be excelling. And that goal, it ties in with Jared McCann for goals on the season. Just throwing that out there, Ryan Donato, he's having a year. He's having a pretty good year right now in Chicago. Just gonna say it. Just gonna say it. But yeah, Ryan, I'm very interested to see how chat reacts when I get down there to it. Zoe Turbo is turbocharged. Yes, Brandon Tanev gets to continue his goal streak. Gets that empty netter here late. I liked seeing that. Always happy to see another turbo goal on the board. Chino Wright, Maddie taking the next step. Possible. I mean, that was a really sick goal from Maddie. Love the feed across to him. Love the finish, though. Him going up high like that, burying it in the corner, dropping to the knee, all of that good stuff. That's not something that we've seen too much from Matty Beniers, but it's a welcome kind of addition to his repertoire, and getting him going with a little bit more offense is really a lot of the centers need on this team. I know Stevenson picks up the primary on Jaden Schwartz's goal. That was good to see. But we just, we've been talking about the center production. Maybe hasn't always been there this year. For this group, I've talked about the style that they're playing. They have to play pretty far back in the defensive zone. They don't get to join the rushes that they really want to attack off of. I've talked about that stuff before, but it would be nice to just kind of get them a little bit more involved. And that Matty goal was definitely good stuff there. James, I need more than one out of Matty there. That being said, good game to beat down on an inferior opponent. We need more than 2 goals that aren't empty net, though. Okay, so I kind of feel you, James. That's a little bit where I'm coming from too. Is I felt like just seeing how bad this Blackhawks team was, I felt like there was some opportunity to maybe do a little bit more. I tons of credit to Matty on the goal he scored. The situation I want to talk about though is when Peter Mrazek comes way out, isn't able to play the puck clean. Matty picks it up, and then he goes and Mrazek's way out of his net. Credit to him for kind of recovering, skating backwards, but keeping the angle. Matty's got the decision to make, right? And this is a split-second decision he's probably never had to think about before. And he's got, I think, McCann he can kind of pass to, but it's a very short window. And I think by the time he registered, the window is kind of closed. He can try to get over to the side and try to get the angle better on Mrazek and try to shoot for the empty net. And I don't think he knew that Bjorkstrand was behind him, but he did have the option of actually kind of doing a drop pass back to Bjorkstrand, who did have the angle on the empty net there. Ends up just kind of shooting it. Mrazek's able to make the save out of the crease, but that was just such a wild situation to see develop, and it was just like everything went into slow-mo as it was going on, and you were just like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen here? Because it's just not something you see that often. You know what I mean? It's a very, very unusual situation there, but it was pretty funny. Kyle, leave Spronger in Canada for now. His influence might be too strong if he travels any further south. Yes, we've heard he's made it as far as Abbotsford. And so we'll see where he's going, where he shows up next tomorrow. But I'm telling you, Everything's been great with him up there. Just saying, haven't lost since. Just saying. Hope Ebbs is okay. Trying to be hopeful because he was only doubtful to return tonight instead of definitely not returning tonight. But oof, yeah, I think in this case, doubtful basic meant that he was definitely not coming back, but they didn't want to. They didn't want to make it sound too bad, and I'm sure they probably don't entirely know the extent of everything yet either, just because it's not like you've got like an MRI machine in here and all of that kind of stuff. So um, if you were to need something like that. So we'll see. Like I said, we'll see if they do something tomorrow, and if they do, we'll see if we can get an update for you. Otherwise, Saturday at the earliest, when we would get whatever update we can on him. Cool. I think Shane could play as a winger up top, and then they bring Ben Myers up instead. I like that idea, Cole. I think that's something that we could see just based on the deployment we saw from Shane tonight after the Ebbs injury. I think that is something that Dan would be open to. I do like that about Dan Bosma as coach is he's pretty open to being flexible about stuff like that. He just wants to get guys going, win hockey games, and he's willing to try things, take a chance on a guy playing off on the wing, something like that, if you need to get them going. So it is nice that we've got that. Jason, we need to get the inside scoop on Joey's belly flop. Intentional or accidental? My guess would be accidental, but we'll see if anybody is able to talk to him tonight and kind of drop the question there, Jason. Let's see. Riker had a great game. Everybody talking about how what a solid game Riker had. Riker did play very well. I see Edzo was very complimentary of Riker Evans. That's good to see. Happy about that. Um, definitely. Lots of Riker love. I really like that. Um, let's see. Even the beam is grooving to the dance party lights. Yeah, definitely getting the lighting tonight. They didn't raise my lights tonight. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to send a message here. Coop, Bang, Big, Maddie, Gino. I used to live in a world where Maddie scored the empty netter, and that bloop shot over Mrazek had a Hattie, the power of imagination from Coop. Yes, there's a universe in which that happened. Unfortunately, it's not the one we live in, but Maddie's playing well here of late. It can only be a matter of time. ECH dance party streak. Prayers for Ebbs. Solid and connected. Back to front. Thanks, Dylan and RJ. You're very welcome. Brian there. Good to see you again in here. Paul, maybe Shane just needs more time. This was his first game for me that his poor play was noticeable. Interesting. I mean, maybe he took a little bit of a step back. I thought that this was the first game where it didn't look like he was trying to be a fourth line impact player, where he wasn't trying to where he was trying to work on that mentality of, I'm always going to the corners, I'm always digging the puck out, I'm always doing stuff to try to make space for my line mates. It felt like this was the first game where Shane was trying to focus more on going to the slot, and I think that obviously it meant he was less effective and he wasn't there to do those things, and the line did suffer for that. Like let's not make any bones about it, right? Like the line absolutely suffered from not having Shane Wright out there kind of doing the dirty work because, Berkey, Tolvanen, they're not really going to be the guys doing that. So I think that's just him. And so I understand where you're coming from there, Paul, but I think long term it's probably a good thing for him. And then we'll see if he kind of gets moved over to a wing spot and pushed up the lineup, something like that. That would be good here. Let's see. Coop, it's officially confirmed Maddie can shoot high now, and the entire league is on notice. Lol. That is very exciting. And then Fusion Mix right after that. Maddie learning a sick knee drop one-timer feels so appropriate. Like it just looks right when he does it, if that makes sense. It does look right when he does it. He's able to finish that one emphatically, and it looked good. I'm with you. It just looked right. Like things just kind of clicked when you saw it happen. And it looked really good. Brooke, almost another Borgen goal. He has a great shot. I want him to use it more. I think we might see him start to use it more. I mean, just the fact that we've seen it now kind of back-to-back games, we're seeing him step up into the play. He wanted that one too. He was banging his stick for the puck there because he was open. He knew he had the lane to take his shot, and he liked what he saw. And he was asking for the puck big time for that one. And yeah, I mean, look, we know one of the things under the old Hacksaw system was the defense activating, and it did seem like there was a lot of times when Will Borgen was that guy, and he was able to kind of do those backside slide plays and come down, and be open. Nobody's really looking his way too much defensively to try to stop him, and that's when he comes up and he pounces and he's able to get a great shot coming. I do like that. I do like that. Coop, we all knew that Donato goal was coming. RJ, take your victory lap. We'll see. We'll see what he does when he eventually joins us here. Where it's already taken him longer than last time. I do not see him up yet on the concourse. Stratic, what was your favorite goal? Mine was burnt toast. Mine, what would be my favorite goal in this one? I mean, the Maddie goal was just like sick. It was just fun to watch. It was beautiful. It just looked good. It was very aesthetically pleasing. I like the Jaden Schwartz goal because I like the kind of tic-tac-toe passing. It's the second game in a row that we've had a goal like that. We had a goal from a guy kind of going in tight like that, and the players, passing him the puck from the slot. Like it was a pretty goal from like an X's and O's standpoint, and I really respect that. So I might have to go with the Jaden Schwartz goal, but that Matty goal is like one that you want to just kind of frame and watch over and over and over. So I would I would not have any issues with that one. Let's see, Christian, with how well things are going, hopefully Sprong can slot right in and there isn't too much line blender going on. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, if Ebbs is going to miss time, you do have Sprong coming in. That helps. It helps stabilize things in the sense that you maybe then don't need a call up. Be interesting to see how that works out, though, especially if you did want to try to, maybe get Shane going by moving him over to the wing or something like that. We'll kind of have to see here. David, got to give a shout out to Joey. Even though he didn't have to make as many saves as usual, he was still good. He had a couple iffy adventures there in the first with some passes that got a little away from him. Puck got a little away from him, but he was always able to recover nicely. And like I said, he didn't have to face too much. But he did have to see through a lot of traffic. Chicago was big on getting that traffic kind of net front, trying to shoot through it. He did a great job tracking around that and playing his angles and doing all that good stuff. So definite shout out to Joey there. I'm with you, David. Northwood's Nick wore my Donato reverse retro to the game, both home and away fans celebrating with me. That's true. That is true. You would have friends all around wearing that jersey, I feel like, for sure. Chris, I don't like the lack of goals from Yanni, but I have to admit that I love the fire. Hell on skates from Chris. Yes, Yanni was definitely going at it in this one, and he did something to get Pat Maroon upset with him. He was really coming at him and really jawing at him from the bench. There was a good long time where Pat Maroon was just kind of screaming at the Kraken bench from the Blackhawks bench, and nobody on the Kraken was engaging with him. And it was pretty funny how long Maroon was going without anybody on the Kraken even looking his way, and I thought that was really funny. And then yeah, obviously Yanni down there late in that game in the crease, just kind of trying to stir up trouble, keep them off their game. Don't let them kind of get positive momentum going with anything late with the game still a 1-goal game. So, but it's good. It's good. Maddie, I so wish Maddie, talking about Matty, I so wish Maddie would have been able to bury that puck when Mrazek was in no man's land. Love the effort there. Yeah, like I said, I think that's just one where you just don't expect to be in that situation, so you don't really. It's not ingrained in you what move to make. So you just kind of have to be taking in the information as you can and making the best decision you can make. And they weren't able to take advantage of it, but it was a situation where it's not like Chicago is able to build momentum off of something like that, right? Like it's more of a oof, we survived that rather than like okay, we got the big save, let's get it up the ice, right? It's more of like oh my gosh, like you're just trying to recoup from however frantic you were trying to play that. So even though the goal didn't come out of it, it was still positive play for the Kraken. James, look, I don't want to take anything away from anyone, but it does not seem like Gourde is still the worst of the group at this point. He's still a 3C getting bad 4C minutes. He needs to go. I don't know that I would say that. I don't know that I agree with that, James. I think like we just talked about, Yanni plays a special brand of hockey. He's good at getting under other teams' skin, throwing them off their game. That's certainly a trait that's useful. I think having him as a 4C, yes, it feels kind of weird. He's probably better than that. He's a 3C, like you said, and he's a guy who's is going to play great playoff kind of hockey and play good defensively and all. And he has been doing that this year. I think there's a reason that you're seeing that fourth line kind of step up. I think he's done a good job of being able to shut things down in the defensive zone, help move the puck up to Cartier and Turbo, let them go and attack off the rush, and it's situations like that. Could you get more production from him? Yes. I mean, this is the ongoing thing with really all the centers, like I talked about earlier. You could make that argument for all of the you could make an argument like that for all of the centers, though. But I think, like I said, there's a portion of that is just the system and how far back defensively they play, and all of that kind of stuff, just leading to them not being put into those same situations coming off the rush, those top offensive looks that this team is going to generate. The center's just not normally going to be a part of that, and so I'm, you could say I'm cutting him slack, whatever, but that's more so my read on it. CJ, appreciate the effort Berkey was trying to give to get one on net tonight. Yeah, I mean, Berkey's really been trying. You can tell he wants a goal on the board. Like, this is not this is not what he wants. This is not what the situation he wants to be in at all right now. And it's just a matter of time. It's every year we get one guy who's just so snake bitten and just kind of can't put that first one on the board and really get it going. And unfortunately, this year it's Andre Burakovsky. Let's see. More Ryan Donato stuff here. Schultz, nice work by RJ promoting ECH with Mike Benton on Kraken this morning. Yes, I still have to listen to that. But I hear it's good. And speaking of, RJ just emerged from down below, from the depths of the deep here at Climate Pledge Arena. So we'll get him on here soon. Daniel, Bedard looks really small on TV. Does he look that small in person? Okay, I did say to RJ on his first shift, I said, oh, Connor Bedard looks a little small. So yes, Daniel, he does look a little small in person. Doesn't have a ton of size there, but good player. Definitely good player. Jules, the Kings had a little x-ray room in their locker room hallway. Yeah, most teams will have an x-ray room, but an MRI machine is a lot harder to fit into an arena and have the space, no metal in a room and all of that kind of stuff that you need. So a lot of arenas, stadiums, in the major sports will have x-ray machines because those are a lot smaller and easier to fit in and kind of operate. But for the more advanced imaging, anything that you need to look at something soft tissue, anything like that, you generally have to go to the hospital or go to a specialized testing facility the next day. So that's but yeah, the Kings, I'm sure, have one, and it would not surprise me if there was one here as well for the teams to use for just to check to see if something's broken or not, right? Let's see. Apparently Edzo is really on Riker Evans tonight. That's fun. Giving him props and all that kind of stuff. Let's see, Steven, Abbotsford native here. It's a 2-minute drive to the U.S. border, so they're getting him ready. Can't say there's much for 5-star hotels though. What about coastline, Steven? Because that was the other thing that Dan dropped, and we were trying to think about was that he was in Abbotsford and that he said he was keeping his eye on the coast or something like that. I don't know a ton about the geography there, but I don't remember a lot of coast. We were just talking, RJ. Steven in chat here is from Abbotsford. Oh no.
Oh, you didn't take the background out?
I did. I guess it didn't save. I must have uploaded in the wrong one. Anyway, just talking here with Steven, who's from Abbotsford, and so I was just asking about the coast situation there.
Right. Okay, what was the answer there?
I just asked the question as you popped on, so I do not know yet.
Okay.
If you can see the bottom of chat, you might be able to get it.
Okay, yeah, no, I'll keep an eye out for it on the bottom of chat. And also, I do remember I did a Google Street View of Abbotsford because I've been considered visiting at various times, and so I do remember some body of water that seemed really nice, but I do not remember what it was.
Yeah, was it the Pacific Ocean?
No, I don't think so. I can pretty confidently say no. Maddie saying the coast of the Fraser River. So
I don't know.
Stephen, there is a Coast Hotel. Perhaps that's what he meant.
Okay, there we go. James here with the super chat. Who were Shane's line mates last year when he got called up? Looks so different. National media is noticing poor play too. Folks starting to blame him.
It was Schwartz and Eberle, wasn't it?
Schwartz and Eberle, yeah, it was. And
Yeah.
they kind of started off with a similar look there with him with Ebbs anyway, and I do like that. We saw him with Ebbs and Tolvanen, I believe, to start, and then also Ebbs and Bjorkstrand so far. Before then Ebbs went with McCann, and then they left him for Matty.
Right, and they did kind of have to shuffle things around this one with Eberle getting hurt. I'm sure you've already talked about that, but that is something that I think we talked to Stevenson and we talked to Schwartz. And, that is a challenge a little bit when you're rotating. And we also talked to Matty, too, but he said it's nice to kind of have familiarity with those guys. Like, he's already used to playing with Bjorkstrand for a time. He said he was used to playing with Wright a little bit, too, so that kind of helped. He said it really wasn't that difficult for him.
Yeah, and as for, like, the national media and stuff, look, a lot of times, and we've been down this road before, and we've been down this road with Shane Wright before. A lot of the national media is East Coast based, not always staying up to watch the games. They don't really have a presence out here to ask the questions, kind of have the inside scoop. They look at the score sheet, they see he's only got 2 points so far this season, and they go, oh, Shane Wright's struggling just because he hasn't been on the board. I that's generally what it ends up being. Unfortunately, like, I would love to give props to the larger national media outlets, but we've just seen this play out so much with this team.
Right, and I've even talked to some of the national broadcasters too, and it's not really for any lack of work they do. It's just their schedule is so busy that they kind of have to, when they get dropped into some games like that, they have to rely on the things that they're being told or looking at the score sheets and things like that. It just comes with the job.
Yeah, and then super chat here from Paul. Edzo wanted Matty to alley-oop it over Mrazek's head. Kind of talking about that one where Mrazek was caught in no man's land there, RJ, and what Matty could have done, and that is pretty funny.
I know you wanted him to pass it off because he did have a couple passing options, one far side, one near side.
Yep.
It is so tough, though, when you have the puck in that situation. And the last thing you want to do is overcomplicate it, I feel like. Mm-hmm. At least in that moment, right? You make a pass, it gets intercepted, and you're thinking, darn, I had this whole net or the angle or anything like that. But yeah, one pass, it's probably in.
Yeah, appreciate the super chats there, though, from both of you. Right before you had hopped on, we were also talking about how small Connor Bedard looked.
Yes, he does look pretty small.
He's a little guy.
You see it in person,
yeah. Yeah. Now, RJ, I got one here from Sean. The offense was disappointing tonight, and it's not the first comment that we've kind of had from that, given that this game was, it was a close game. It was a 1-goal game there, basically all the way to the end before that empty netter. Your thoughts on that after you were excited for this one to get going, we'll say.
Yeah, I'll agree with that statement. Look, the winning streak that I had predicted is coming to fruition. This game, the only thing... Oh no, we're starting the drinking game again.
There is no official drinking game this time. I will give you that. I've been waiting to have this. I've been talking for half an hour. I'm just wetting my whistle, RJ. That's it.
Okay. I'm sure chat can tell me if there was an actual drinking game or not. Still, the only surprise in this game to me was just that it was lower scoring than I thought. Like, the Kraken didn't play fantastic, and that's something that actually the players acknowledged. Like, Stevenson and Schwartz did acknowledge that it wasn't their best game. They didn't play perfect. Dylan takes a third drink. But
I promise.
Okay.
Anything I'm thinking, I'm merely thinking, and I have not said.
Okay, fair enough. That said, they didn't play their best game, but given the opponent, there were so many times. Remember in the third period, you turned to me even a couple times, said, if that's a legit goal scorer on that chance, they're putting that in for Chicago. Mm-hmm. And so they do get away with it. I don't feel like this game, despite being close as late as it was never really in doubt in my mind. It just never felt like the Blackhawks get back into it. Maybe if they had a full-length power play, they'd have a chance to get one more. But the Kraken never gave them that opportunity. And so the only surprise on this one tonight was just how low scoring it was. And yeah, I think the offense was a bit disappointing, but thankfully you're playing against a team where they only scored one. And really that goal came out of nowhere too. Ryan Donato made that goal out of thin air. We've seen him do it before. But there weren't really going to get more chances to get more than that one.
Yeah, I'm really split on this because I keep going back and forth as I think about it, because on the one hand, a win is a win is a win. This team just needs to get wins. I kind of don't care how they happen. Just take them and move on. On the other hand, it's like, look, this was like the first seconds of Blackhawks hockey that I've watched this year. I have not watched this team at all before this. Wow, are they terrible, right? Like, this is a really rough team right now. And so then I go, okay, this Kraken group, if you want to be kind of serious and you want to make a push for the playoffs and stuff, like, these are the games that should look like that Montreal game. Right? Like, the Blackhawks were almost as bad as Montreal was in that game, right? And like, you could have really gone after them here, as the board's ready to put you in the chill zone there behind you, RJ, it looks like.
Is it real? Oh yeah, there it is.
It's very ready. So like, there's that aspect of it, but then I kind of come back around to the flip side, and I'm like, look, they got a power play goal. Maddie scores a good one. Like, that's kind of positive stuff. I just keep going back and forth. And then I want to say, like, yeah, they got the win, and that's all that matters. But then, or like you, right, where it's a, okay, it was a 1-goal game, but it's against a team that can't really do much. But at the same time, RJ, it's hockey. Look at the 1 goal that they did score. That could have very easily happened again some way, or Bedard just gets a little bit of time and space and he's able to put one home. Like, I just feel like in this sport of hockey, being okay with like a 2-1 win over a bad team, I just don't know that it's always enough, given in this sport, anything could happen at any moment.
Look, I understand your point of view here. Maybe I'm just doing this for my own sanity and mental health, but I'm kind of over it, because if I'm going to really get frustrated about a game like this, I feel like I'm going to be frustrated a lot this season. I just think that's where we're at, right? They got the 2 points. And as long as, look, they have not lost to a bad team this season yet. And if they lose to a bad team at any point, which maybe they will at some point down the line, and I'm talking a truly bad team, I'm talking bottom 5 in the league, like Chicago is, like I think Columbus is, then I will let them have it. But until then, as long as they're getting the 2 points, they're taking care of business at least. And just given that this team is so solidly mid, I feel like I can't really expect anything better.
I know. No, I'm with you. Like, after that road trip, I'm definitely there too, in the sense that, like, I just want wins, just positive momentum. That's good. It's just it's one of those where we were really feeling solid earlier in this year of, like, this is a team that can beat up on bad teams, and now it's just a team that can, survive a bad team a little bit.
I'm there. Yeah, no, I'll agree with
like
that.
That was that Columbus game a little bit. So yeah, that's all. But I'm with you. We'll keep it positive here. Anything on Jordan Eberle? I know.
No, Dan said he's still being evaluated.
Yeah.
And we do have a super chat here from Paul. They lose this game last year. Let's set me up. I'm struggling. Let's
celebrate
something win. Yeah. But they lose this game last year, and I think that's the point, right? They would lose this game last year. They would absolutely find a way to lose this game last year. And that's the difference between a team that can be probably somewhere in the middle of the standings. I think the Kraken are now a point or two out of the last playoff spot, versus a team that's truly in the basement. And that's the difference that we're seeing.
Yeah. No, that's a huge difference, and that is positive and all of that stuff. Look at us flip-flopping from like 2.5 weeks ago. On
I know, right?
Who's the optimistic one and who's the pessimist? Yeah, with Jordan Eberle, doesn't surprise any of us. I'm sure that there's not that update. Do we know if there's going to be a practice or anything tomorrow?
Yes, there'll be a practice at 11 tomorrow, so we'll probably get some more information then.
Okay, because that was the other thing that we were curious about. Apparently, Edzo was all about Riker Evans in this one. I don't know if you want to talk about the good game that he had.
Yeah, Piper actually asked Dan about the game that he had, and I kind of caught me off guard a little bit too, because like I noticed him at certain moments, but he didn't like jump out to me necessarily. And Dan was kind of the mind. Look, he knows how good Riker can be. He knows what Riker does, and kind of did not. I don't want to say brush it off, but just like, well, yeah, we know Riker can do this kind of thing. But yeah, no, I thought he was pretty good. Do you know what his ice time total was in this one?
Okay,
not to pull it up send you with an errand here, but I am curious about that one.
I mean, I was going to say, if you have more of the point to make while I pull it up, go for it.
Not a ton on Riker. I mean, it's interesting. This is the reason I'm asking about his ice time too.
24:33, which did lead the D-Corps.
Yeah, so I noticed him out there a lot, and that's why I wanted to see what his ice time was. And Ed Viren with the 24:33, good job there, Viren. But so I saw him out there a lot. I think that tells you a lot that Bilesma is willing to send him out there, especially in a game where you had the lead pretty much the entire time. If you're
Yeah.
trailing by a goal or two, I expect to see a lot of Riker Evans, right? He's one of your puck movers. He can kind of help you try and get back into a game. But when you're defending a lead, I think that's a huge vote of confidence from the coach.
Yes, it is. He had 22 shifts according to the NHL box score here. Next up would be Adam Larson with 21 shifts, but almost 2 minutes less in ice time for the Big Cat. Could be the 2 minutes he was in the box, probably contributing to that a little bit.
Yeah.
Paul asking, is Bedard Furcus small? No.
No. He's definitely bigger than Furcus.
Definitely
it's not close.
Yes. James here with another super chat. Real talk. Why do we want to be a mid team who barely misses playoffs instead of a horrific team who gets a top 3 pick? We need skill players.
That's a good question. And I think in general, you do want to be either very good or very bad. The NHL punishes being a mid team more than just about anything else. And that's kind of where the Kraken are at. That said, I mean, we had a whole long podcast episode a ways back, I think called An Uncomfortable Conversation, talking about the pressure with the Sonics arriving and why the Kraken have this shorter timeline and why it's kind of a unique situation based on the market. That's really the answer to this question. In a vacuum, no, you don't want to be mid like this, but there's a reason that they are where they are.
Yeah, and it also depends. And one of the things we want to talk about on the Red Glare over on over at patreon.com/Emerald City Hockey when we get that out, which may not be tomorrow because of my schedule. So sorry, everybody. Is like when you are a team that is on the up, you might have a season or two where you do kind of finish in the spot and you do look a little bit like a mid team, but you're still, your overall trajectory is going positive. That's more coming out of a traditional rebuild. The Kraken aren't really doing that. I think, James, really for your question, right? Like that's the kind of question that Ron Francis had to face this offseason. And it was, look, do you kind of bottom out? Do you try to make a push here? Try to get over that line from borderline playoff team to low seed playoff team. And I think just the realities of the situation all the way around, whether it's the Sonics coming back, whether it's the first year that you're going to be more accessible for people to watch at home and wanting to put a good product forward in that regard, trying to get people to come back after kind of how miserable last season was. And you had a little bit of trailing attendance down the stretch in the arena. Just because of all those things, you're trying to initiate a culture change. You make the coaching switch. You're trying to really establish for the first time in your franchise's history a culture within the organization from kind of the top down. I think all of those things kind of pushed them in this direction where you have to go for it. You have to understand that, yeah, you're going to be a mid team, but we're going to find a way to be an upper tier mid team rather than a bottom tier mid team. And I think that was just a calculation that this organization had to make for a variety of reasons. Is it the best one long term? Potentially not, maybe even probably not. But it is the one that they had to make just given the state of so many of the things kind of floating around them. And that's just the way it is, right? Like that's just the reality in which this team has to operate.
Yep. Well said.
Yeah. Yeah. Maddie, Bedard is an inch shorter, but like 30 pounds heavier than Furcus, according to a quick Google search. He might not even be an inch shorter.
Yeah.
Furcus sometimes gets generous measurements, it feels like, on that. Just saying.
Yeah. As someone who stood next to him at all the dev camps, when he's just in street clothes, he's not a whole lot taller than either of us.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. This is a good one from Sean here. Am I crazy to think that maybe Bedard is not going to be a generational talent? We thought
I knew you'd pick
likely
up on that
really
one.
Good player, but maybe not superstar. I think he's superstar level. But yes, I was talking to you earlier about generational being thrown around a lot and maybe not being always applicable.
Okay, you agreeing to the superstar thing makes the argument go away, because I'll say superstar, I won't say generational, but he's absolutely superstar caliber.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a good player. this team is so bad around him. Like it's
Yep.
ridiculous.
It's
And he still
him
finds
and
a way to look dangerous.
yeah, and Ryan Donato. Which, can I just shout out Ryan Donato real quick? I don't know if you've talked about him yet.
We've done it. Go for it. Give your thoughts.
Okay. I won't add too much then. But the Kraken won, so it's okay. I could say it. I love Ryan Donato. I miss him on the Kraken. Just watching him play again reminds me what he brings. He created that goal out of thin air. And I actually did stop by and listen to Chicago coach Luke Richardson talk after the game, because I was curious what his take was. And oh boy, the answer he gave on Ryan Donato. He looked almost a little exasperated. He just said, he's the only one who's shooting the puck with desperation. He's the only guy doing this. And I'm just thinking, that quote. Sounds so familiar, doesn't it?
It really does. But like from a coach, that's an incredible quote.
Yes. So I wrote that one down immediately, and I caught it at the tail end before we got Bilesma. So yes, I think Luke Richardson feeling very much the same way about Donato that maybe Haxtell did at certain points in year 1 or year 3 or year 2.
That is pretty interesting. Savvy, I'm going to the Firebirds game tomorrow with some friends. Enjoy that, Savvy. That should be a lot of fun. Viren, RJ, please stop tempting the hockey gods about facing bad teams. I feel like that's a little bit more directed your way than mine.
Hasn't made a difference so far. I mean, look,
hasn't come back to bite me yet.
It hasn't. I was going to be the one starting this post game and eating all the crow if this game didn't go the way it did. Yeah. Never in doubt. At no point was I ever worried. I'll say this much. I think the Islanders are a little bit more of a challenge than Columbus and Chicago. So I'll say that, like, it's not going to be the cakewalk these last 2 games have been. I still think with how beat up they are, the Kraken shouldn't have any issues. But that's as far as I'll go in trying to avert the jinx.
Yeah. Sean here, say what you will, but Shane Wright does not look good right now, specifically tonight. Sometimes eyeballs still tell the truth. I said he didn't play that great tonight, RJ, in the sense that he obviously wasn't on the board again or any of that stuff. I do think, though, that a little bit of why he looked worse tonight than he has is because he is trying to change his playing style a little bit. He is trying to go to the center of the ice in the offensive zone a little bit more. And look, when he was doing so much for that line, digging out pucks, creating space, and he's playing with guys like Eli Tolvanen or Andrei Burakovsky, which aren't necessarily known to do those things, it's going to make that line look pretty bad when he stops.
Right, and when he wasn't doing it, there were a couple times during the game where I talked to you, and that line was out there, and I was just thinking, who's going to the net? They were in the offensive zone, and nobody was going to the net, and it didn't lead to any kind of generation there. I am interested to see if maybe they go back to the look with Shane at wing, because that's something that Bilesma went to after the Eberle injury. I'm sure it was injury related. That's why they did it. But I wonder if that's something that maybe situationally he goes with again, or maybe you even see it in line rushes. I don't know. But at this point, I wouldn't mind trying it. I know you have that idea about sending Shane down to the Firebirds. I would like to try at least one other push or something else while he's still up here before having to resort to that. I'm more open to your idea now a little bit, because I do think he needs something to get his game going. But I would try one more thing, like maybe that, before sending him down.
Yeah, and then the other player that's been talked about, because there's been a couple of times like this where we've been talking about Shane Wright tonight in the post game and the rough game he had and him needing to step it up. The other player that's been brought up has been Yanni Gourde, RJ, who definitely was trying to get into things late there. But just your overall thoughts on Yanni.
I mean, look, he's been part of a line with Tanev and Karche. When they're on, they are dominant and they will almost single-handedly win games. Hasn't always been the most consistent. And yeah, in this one, I mean, I didn't notice them as much as I had in the previous couple games. They didn't dominate in the way that they had. And it's kind of been up and down from Yanni. At least I'll say this with Yanni, like, if he's not producing offensively, which, still struggling to score, right? At least he's doing other things. And I am noticing him doing other things out there. So it hasn't been bad. And he was certainly mixing it up kind of late in this one, but he knew where the line was too. He didn't give Chicago, didn't give him a power play, didn't give him a fight or anything where they could really get the momentum back into things. And so I just think we need to be realistic about kind of what he is at this point. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say.
Yeah. From Lindsay here. Hello from Los Angeles. Was up in the air during the first and second period, but listen to the third on the radio. Let's keep it rolling and make it 4 in a row on Saturday. Hope you enjoy the time down in our old neck of the woods there, Lindsay.
Hey, Lindsay, are you sticking around long enough for the game in LA when the Kraken go down there?
That's a good question. So it's
coming up.
about a week away. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, it is a little ways away.
It's a little bit away. Let's see. Good night, Pablo. Thanks for joining us as always. Maddie, you can get a good read. You can get good players in the later first rounds too. Not all first overalls end up working out. Edmonton had like 4 firsts in 6 years. It still took them a decade to make the Stanley Cup Finals. Yeah, I mean, drafting higher is not a sure thing, but it does. It helps. Like it is still the best way of finding those players and bringing them in and adding them to your organization. That's for sure. But it is not the end all be all.
Yeah, it's still so rare though to get a player that's a true superstar any other way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is the best way to do it. Shay, can we get some love for Josh Mahura? I feel like he's getting very little attention, and he's been doing so many little things right. No glaring issues that I've noticed. I mean, we've talked about Josh Mahura on quite a few of these post games, RJ, and the good work he's doing. And I know somebody earlier in chat had also shouted him out as well.
Yeah, he's been great, and it really what says the most is just the fact that we're not talking about him very much.
Yeah,
and as the 6D, when you come in and have to fill that spot, that's what you want, because the only things that are really going to be highlighted are your mistakes. Mahura isn't the kind of guy who's going to go out there and make some flashy play or do anything to get noticed, and so that's what you want. Sometimes the best defensemen are the ones you notice the least, and Mahura is very much in that category.
Agreed. Sean, if Chicago keeps rebuilding nonstop, might Bedard put some pressure on that organization? They do not seem to even to be making even incremental growth. I think that's one where it's still way too early on in the process, right? Like you just drafted second overall this year. You add your future franchise cornerstone defenseman in Lev Shonov. I think that he's going to be a big part of that team down the line. You still have other pretty good defensemen in the system that just take time to kind of mature and get there. That's just always how defensemen have worked. And you still have some other good forwards in the pipeline that'll be able to start joining Bedard soon. I think of Frank Nazar first and foremost, RJ, and he'll probably be with Bedard next season up here.
Yeah, he probably will. And I still think they probably need at least one more top 10 pick, really good player that they're on track to get this year. I think if they were a borderline playoff team right now, I think that's actually a bad thing coming out of the rebuild. I don't think you've gotten enough talent from those top draft picks quite yet. So this is all according to the plan. Plus, they really tore things down to the studs with this rebuild. Everyone knew it was going to take a little bit of time to build back up. And so far, it's going according to plan. This is exactly what you want to see. We had that conversation about not wanting to be mid, right? You either want to be really bad or really good. Chicago understands that fully.
Yeah, and I think Connor Bedard understands that it doesn't happen right away. You can go and you can look at like the Pittsburgh Penguins bringing in Sidney Crosby. They're still pretty rough that first season with him, and for a little while it took them a little while to get going before they were able to get out of that. And they had already drafted a Malkin the year before and stuff like that, Flower a couple years before, all of that. It does take several years of that. I think about the Kings teams and all those, even the Blackhawks back before they won their cup, right? It needed to take first overall pick Patrick Kane, third overall pick Jonathan Toews, other top picks coming together, and then a couple of years later they're able to start going on their run. Sasha Boisvert was the other one that they got this season.
I know you liked that pick at the draft.
I couldn't remember exactly which guy, but I like him because he's a good defensive center who can kind of be that 2C running mate to Connor Bedard in future years, but it'll probably take him 2 years. Let's see.
We got a super chat here from Paul.
Oh, go for it.
With all the Riker love, I'm curious, how does he compare to Dunn as a young player? I'm still new to hockey, so wondering if we have Dunn 2.0. I'm curious for your take on this, Dylan. I would kind of trust your eye more than my own on this one. One thing I will say, though, is that Riker seems to be getting more opportunity earlier than Vince Dunn did. We're seeing him play 23, 24 minutes a night sometimes, whereas Vince Dunn, the key thing about him is he was pushed way down on a Blues depth chart, which had a lot of really talented defensemen on a competitive team. And I think Riker, at least right now, is getting more opportunity. But as far as what they actually bring and how they look, I'm curious your take, Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, the St. Louis, when Dunn was coming through, was pretty clogged up on the blue line. There was just not a lot of opportunity for a guy like Vince Dunn to kind of have the chances and stuff that we're seeing Riker get with this Kraken group. But otherwise, I mean, their style is a little bit different. I feel like Vince Dunn, just the way they attack the offensive zone is different. Vince Dunn does it from back at the point a lot more than what Riker Evans does. Riker Evans likes to work his way down into the offensive zone. He starts seeing the ice better as he gets down there. We saw it again tonight, right, where he kind of does his little around the world thing where he comes down on that left side that he's playing, and then he ends up circling the net and looking for somebody net front to make a quick pass to once he hops out onto that other side. Vince Dunn doesn't really play like that, right? Vince Dunn sees stuff from the point. He wants to be up at the point. He wants to launch bombs from the point. He sees the ice very well from, walking the blue line over to the middle of the ice into that, extremely high slot area. And that's where he kind of wants to play from. So from an ultimate production standpoint, yeah, Riker Evans might have the potential to put up a lot of points the way Vince Dunn does. But from a stylistic standpoint, I wouldn't draw them as comparables to each other.
Yeah, no, I think that's well said. And then Sean chiming in, Riker is better than young Dunn. I didn't watch a whole lot of Dunn when he was as young as Riker is.
Yeah, Vince Dunn also, he was different. He's a lot more physical than Riker Evans is, right? And, we see the Undertaker stuff now. He was that guy when he was younger. Like, he would really go at you. Always been a little bit kind of stockier build than what Riker Evans has. So he was more of like a physical, if you're going to come near this crease, he's going to punish you. Or if you're lined up along the boards for him, he's really going to try to finish you off. Riker just doesn't really play that way. So again, I'm talking more like stylistic differences than ultimate production, but I don't know. That's just kind of how I think of it there. Got Shay. I didn't mean bad kind of attention. Talking about Mahura, I meant more like it feels like not a lot of people are hyping up Mahura. I agree with defensemen. You don't always want a lot of attention drawn to them. Yeah, no, we've been good, big fans of Josh Mahura and how he's been here so far, and he's looking really, really good. Pablo, Dylan, how's your beautiful dog doing? She's doing great. Yes, I was gone for the last road trip, and then it's like all home games here. But Afra's doing well, and I'm sure she's wishing that some of these games are on the road so she could join for these dance parties and get some treats.
I know. I'm sure she's happy to have you back from the road trip, but I'm sure she misses you at games like this.
Definitely. Let's see. Daniel, are any of the first round D-men that everyone was mad the Kraken didn't draft playing in the NHL this year? No. It's unbelievably rare for a 18-year-old defenseman to make that jump right away.
I mean, even Levshonov, who went second overall, isn't playing yet. It's not really a knock on any of them. Just you don't play that early.
Yeah, and he's got huge size too. Like he's physically ready. It's just you just wouldn't put him out there into that situation. Shay, I feel like we're ignoring that defensemen often hit their peak a little later. Dunn is in his prime now, not when he played with the Blues. I agree with that.
Yeah, and Riker is definitely age-wise before his peak, right? He should not have peaked yet if you look at aging curves. His best days should be ahead of him. And it's encouraging, though, that he's being able to do what he did tonight and in some of these games as young as he is.
Yeah, no, it's really encouraging. We'll do a quick last call here. Otherwise, I think, this has been a pretty solid post-game live, RJ. Picking up another win, three-game little win streak the Kraken have going here. They get to carry over into a matinee game. I know this year they seem to be flipping the whole, better at home, worse on the road thing, kind of coming around to that, like a normal team should be. Let's see, maybe some of the matinee game curse is gone too.
Let's hope. I mean, I'll take it. I will definitely take more home wins and trade them for road wins. That is just fine with me. And especially now that you're up here too. I mean, there's no reason to keep it reversed, right? And then also, I saw people asking. I did not see who got the belt. I did check this time. They're doing a good job hiding it from us.
Mm-hmm.
So don't know who got the belt.
Interesting. I did like the video from the last one though. I thought that was solid. Hearing Turbo talking about Berkey there and everything, I thought that was good. So, let's see. Zoe, sounds like Dunn and Riker are not really comparable. Yeah, they, like I said, they just play different styles.
Yeah. They're offensive defensemen. That's kind of the similarity there.
Exactly. So, and I saw somebody earlier was asking if there was an update on Vince Dunn. No update. I mean, we're still less than a week out from the 3-week timetable we were given. So,
yeah, and he has started skating. I don't know if we've explicitly said that yet on a podcast or on one of these post-game lives. Yeah. Our buddy Charles at Circling Seattle Sports caught some video of that the other day. So at least he is on the ice, but from that video, he looked like he's still a ways away.
Yeah. So we'll see. And yeah, we'll catch you all after that game. Again, reminder that next game against the Islanders is going to take place at 1 p.m. like we were just talking about in the matinee game. Do you have any quick thoughts on the Islanders before we sign off, RJ?
You want me to tempt fate one more time?
No,
Look,
I did not mean that. I was thinking like purely a scouting report, because you and I do, if anybody listens to the Red Glare, we do talk about the Islanders and the kind of style they play, because it is a specific style.
It is. And what they're going to try to do, and this is even more so the case because they're so banged up and don't have a lot of their skill guys, they're going to try and play a really low event game. They're going to try and muck things up. They're going to try and keep the score low and keep it close and take advantage when they get power plays or various opportunities, right? That's how they're going to try to play. And it might look actually kind of similar to this game. I could see it looking a lot like this one, but they're going to hope that maybe they get an extra power play here or there. They get an extra bounce and can tie the game. That's really their path to winning. They know it. They're bought in. They know everyone on that team is going to play that way. So that's the game that we're expecting to see.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it would not surprise me if it looks a lot like tonight's game, only they're better at drawing penalties, and they're going to be able to take advantage of any, of your mistakes a little bit easier than the Blackhawks were able to. So I think it's one where the Kraken can kind of keep the game plan from tonight, but know that they need to execute at a higher level to be able to walk out of that next one with the 2 points. We shall see, though. Again, 1 p.m. start time on Saturday, and then the game the following night against a different New York team. That's going to be interesting. I'm excited for it, enjoying the 3-game win streak, everybody, and we'll see you all next time.